Welcome to today's video. When we're in trouble and call the police for help, we expect them to keep us safe and sort things out. That's why we see police officers as people with authority. But in this video today, we're going to see something shocking. We learn about police officers who did terrible things, abusing their power to commit crimes instead of protecting them. We start with Daniel Holtzclaw and one of the highest record sentences given in the state. In Oklahoma City, a court decided to keep the rape and sexual assault convictions of a former police officer. He was given a 263-year prison sentence. Many people, including the Black Lives Matter movement and some conservatives, have been paying close attention to this case. The Oklahoma Court of Criminal Appeals looked at Daniel Holtzclaw's appeals. They said no to all of them. Holtzclaw was saying that he didn't do it. He also said they didn't bring in an expert to explain how the DNA from one of the victims got on his pants. But the court didn't agree with any of these reasons. Holtzclaw's family feels really sad about the decision, but they saw it coming. Eric Holtzclaw, Holtzclaw's dad, mentioned that they're going to ask for another chance in a different court. They think it might take over 10 years for the whole process. What's happened? Let's dive into the details now. During this time as a police officer, prosecutors said Holtzclaw, who was 32 years old, focused on black women and black girls. In 2015, he was found guilty of 18 crimes related to 7 women and 1 girl. This incident happened between 2013 and 14. However, he was not found guilty of similar crimes involving 5 other women. Holtzclaw's lawyer said the DNA of one person who accused him was on his pants, but they said maybe it got there when he was searching the 70-year-old's bag. Holtzclaw said if his DNA wasn't on his pants, they weren't checked properly. Thought his DNA being mixed with the girls could prove his point of how he got there, but the court didn't agree. They said Holtzclaw didn't explain how this would help the case. The court kept the DNA question secret for 17 months because of privacy rules in Oklahoma. Holtzclaw still says he didn't do anything wrong. He promises to use new proof from the civil cases to keep fighting against his criminal charges. In 2013, he handcuffed a woman during a report of a stolen car, but he denies the wrongdoing. The woman wasn't part of the car theft, but she claims he forcefully pushed her face into a brick wall. After he released her, she had to go to the hospital for medical help. We go on with the most dangerous cop, David Carrick in Endlang. Carrick, who's 49 years old, got sent to jail for his horrible crimes. He confessed to committing many rapes and other sexual crimes against 12 women. The court told him he had to spend at least 30 years in prison. Plus, he lost his job at the Metropolitan Police. David Carrick abused his position of trust as a police officer to carry out his appalling crimes. Mr. Khan said, "I have been very clear that steps should be taken to remove the employer contributions of his Met Police pension." Another person said, "It is absolutely right, we have taken every step we can as quickly as we can. He didn't deserve to wear the uniform of an officer. He doesn't deserve the pension of an officer." So, back in 2001, Carrick started working with the Met. Then in 2009, he became an armed officer in the Parliamentary and Diplomatic Protection Unit. At Southwark Crown Court, he admitted to doing 49 crimes, which included hurting people and raping them. This happened between 2003 and 2020. Before the police caught him, many people had told the police in London about his bad action many times. This ended after he got sentencing and went directly back to jail. Did he get what he deserved? Write it in the comments. In next case, we see a police officer who earned the reputation of being the most corrupt cop in Chicago in its history. Joseph Michanovsky was given a punishment. He will spend the rest of his life in a federal prison, and he won't get any chance of getting out. US District Judge Blanche Manning said to Michanovsky that he had done wrong by selling drugs and giving weapons to street gang members. These gang members were involved in his plan to spread cocaine on the streets, where he was supposed to keep people safe. There comes a time in every person's life to embrace what he or she has become, to check the compass of his heart, to remember past travels, Manning said. "I'm afraid to discover, Mr. Michanovsky, what you are now, sir. You used your power to infect a trust in society." Michanovsky, who was strong and 49 years old, stood with his hands together at his waist. His legs were changed and he had no expression on his face while Manning talked quietly. The courtroom had a lot of security to keep it safe. It was full of Michanovsky's big family, even his wife and kids were there. Also, FBI and US Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco and Firearms agents were present. These were the same agents he had problems with before. When Manning spoke to Misconduct and asked if he wanted to say something, the ex-gang officer looked at his wife Nancy and their kid sitting in the second row. He stretched out his right hand towards them and said, "I love you all. You know what's going on, you'll always be in my heart." In April 2001, after a 3-month trial, the jury decided that Misconduct was guilty of racketeering and drug conspiracy. This means they found him guilty of being involved in illegal activities related to drugs and organized crime. With Miscondact's badge gripped in his left hand, prosecutor listed all the bad things Misconduct did. What do you think about Chicago? What is your understanding of the city and his criminal status? We see now the biggest police corruption scandal happened in Baltimore. A big case of police corruption in Baltimore has grabbed attention nationwide because it's the focus of a new HBO show. It has been following the real-life investigation of the gun trace task force since the first people were charged in 2017. Task force was formed to remove illegal guns from the streets, but things went wrong. Instead of doing their job, some team members did bad things. They stole from drug dealers, put drugs and guns on innocent people, and hurt random civilians. Since 2017, over a dozen officers have been found guilty in this bad situation. Many cases that relied on their words were cancelled later on. 13 officers got in trouble for some serious stuff. They were accused of robbing people, taking drugs, lying on reports, and pretending to work extra hours and then trying to hide it all. The main guy behind it, ex-Sergeant Wayne Jenkins, confessed to doing a bunch of armed robberies and stealing lots of drugs worth a ton of money. Now Jenkins is facing the toughest punishment of all of them. He's locked up in a Kentucky prison for 25 years. He's set to get out in 2038. Baltimore had to go through hard times because of the task force. Baltimore officials decided to give $6 million to the family of a driver who died during a police chase in 2010. This chase involved officers from the Gun Trace Task Force, a group known for breaking the rules. The settlement is the city's latest payment due to the bad behavior of this group. During a meeting of the city spending, officials revealed that Baltimore has now paid a total of $22.2 million to resolve almost 40 cases connected to the Gun Trace Task Force. They also mentioned that there are still 5 more cases waiting to be resolved through legal processes. This is what happened when we didn't have the oversight, when we didn't have the training, when we didn't go above and beyond to make sure those people that were sworn to protect and serve hadn't turned themselves into the biggest gang in Baltimore, he said during a meeting. For your understanding, one of the biggest police task force scandals nationally showed that over 800 criminal cases were dropped due to this scandal. What is your opinion on this case? Do you think a lot of important people are also part, but because of their position status are not going to be charged? Now we watch a horrific case of a police officer ending a boy's life. Stafford was accused of second-degree murder and attempted second-degree murder. However, the jury decided he was guilty of manslaughter and attempted manslaughter instead, with the jury 10 out of 12 agreeing. These charges together could mean he faces up to 60 years in prison. Derek Stafford, who used to work as a deputy marshal in Marksville, was given a punishment of 40 years in prison. This happened 1 week after the jury decided that the former policeman was guilty of shooting a 6-year-old boy to death and injuring the boy's father. Stafford and another deputy, known as Greenhouse, shot a lot of bullets at the end of a 2-mile chase. Judge Bennett thinks what they did was wrong, and he believes Stafford was rightly found guilty for it. The shooting simply should never happen, Bennett said. Stafford stood in front of the judge, and his hands chained and wearing an orange uniform. He said he never realized the child was in the car and felt really sorry for the boy's death. Then he turned to Few and said sorry for shooting and for the loss of Few's son. "I have kids too," he said. The judge recognized that Stafford had served in some way, but he also mentioned that the jury didn't agree with Stafford's argument that he acted in self-defense. Even though Bennett blamed Few for not stopping his car when Greenhouse turned on the police car lights, the judge pointed out that during the trial it became clear that Few wasn't a danger and was actually trying to surrender when the shooting happened. During the trial they showed a video many times. It was from the body camera of another police officer. In the video, Few can be seen raising his hands from the video of the Kia Sportage when the shooting happened. "He shot 14 times while my hands were in the air," Few said Friday morning while addressing the court. "He just kept shooting." Let's go on with another horrific news that went through all channels in England for days and shocked the country. Wayne Couzens used to work for the police in London. On March 3, he kidnapped Sarah Everett, raped and ended her life. In court, they said Sarah suffered terribly. They mentioned she was tricked, taken against her will, assaulted, strangled and even set on fire. Now they're starting to reveal more about what's happened, including the involvement of Wayne Couzens, a former police officer. Miss Everett was described by a former long-term boyfriend as extremely intelligent, savvy and streetwise, the court heard during Couzens' sentencing hearing. Let's see the details what happened on the particular day. Couzens had just finished working a 12-hour shift that morning. He was still wearing his police belt, which had handcuffs and a black pouch shaped like a rectangle. Miss Everett was walking back to her house from her friend's place in South London. Suddenly, a man who was a sexual predator grabbed her, pretending to be a police officer. He handcuffed her and showed her a fake warrant card, tricking her into thinking she was being arrested. In this year, Couzens was on COVID patrols. He was making sure people followed the rules about the coronavirus, so he probably knew what to say to anyone who broke those rules. After that, he believed he took her phone. He took out the SIM card from the phone and tried to break it. The man who was married and had 2 kids proceeded to rape and choke Miss Everett with his police belt. After that, he set her body on fire near his own land. Prosecutor Tom Little explained that the area where the defendant burned Sarah Everett's body was very near to his land in the same woods. People all across the country were really angry and upset after the killings showed on TV. They were protesting because they felt that violence against women was happening too often. Couzens, who was a police officer who was trained to use guns and was responsible for protecting parliament members and diplomats, cleaned his phone only a few minutes before the police came to his arrest at his house. The disappearance of Miss Everett was one of the most widely publicized missing person investigations the country has ever seen. When you think it can get as bad as the following case, watch this. In Texas, a shocking news erupted and shocked the community. Ex-police officer Roy Oliver got 50 years behind bars. This punishment came because he killed a 50-year-old boy. The boy got shot while he was in a car with other teenagers. They were leaving a party at someone's house. Oliver has to pay also a $10,000 fine as decided by the jury. During the trial, Oliver said he shot at the car because he thought it was going to hit his partner, Officer Tyler Gross, and he believed Gross was in danger. However, Gross told the court that he wasn't scared for his life and didn't think he had to shoot his gun. Odell Edwards expressed that things would never be like before for their family. He shared his feelings after the verdict, saying, "I'm really happy, very happy. It's been a tough year, a long one." The police were called to a party in Balch Springs because there were reports of underage drinking. Oliver explained during the trial that while he was at the party, he heard gunshots nearby and thought there was a dangerous person shooting. While he went outside, he saw a car with 5 teenagers who didn't have any weapons. It turned out the gunshots came from an area close to a nursing home, not from where the teenagers were. On this day, a beautiful evening of this teenager was destroyed, and as well as of all the people attending the party have gone home with traumas. Let's hope this won't happen again to these young teenagers anywhere on this planet. Back in 2020, there was a big news story about Jalen Flair. He used to work as a deputy sheriff in San Diego, but then he got in trouble. People accused him of doing bad things with young girls. At first, things moved slowly with the case, but then Flair admitted to what he did. A year later, a judge decided he should spend 12 years in jail for his actions. Jalen appeared to have a calm and peaceful life when you looked at it from afar, but there was something darker lurking beneath the surface. The biggest accusations against Jalen was inappropriate behavior with minor girls. However, that was just the tip of the iceberg. As his trial unfolded, more disturbing details emerged about his actions. In court, they found out that Jalen used to give money to underage girls so they would hang out with him. Not only that, he would also push them to bring their younger friends with. And besides, Flair often dated girls hoping to start a sexual serious relationship. Most of his victims were between the ages of 14 and 16. Many laws were broken when Jalen behaved badly, but the people he hurt were scared to speak up. They were afraid to tell the police because Flair, the police they were supposed to trust, was a law officer himself. Because of this fear, Jalen was able to keep doing bad things for a while without getting caught, but this didn't last long. After 4 girls finally spoke up about what Flair did, he was arrested quickly. This took about 4 months. When they finished, the police officers arrested him. After they arrested him, Jalen Flair admitted to doing 20 incidents and some other things too. Because of that, a judge in San Diego said Jalen would have to spend 12 years in prison. When he gets out, he still have to follow some rules. We see now an interesting case that went viral in the media. A police officer named Michael Emiott was given a punishment for hurting Richard Hubbard during a traffic stop in 2017. He won't have to go to jail, but he has to follow community rules for a year without reporting to anyone. He also has to pay a fine of $1,000. Judge Guy Reese gave a punishment of 90 days, but he decided not to enforce it for now. The jury decided that Emmett had committed a small crime by hurting someone and not letting them have their rights. This happened after they watched a video that went viral online where Emmett hit Hubbard many times during a traffic stop while talking about how the crime affected him. Hubbard asked the court to give Emmett the toughest punishment possible. He explained that he still feels anxious and traumatized because of what happened in 2017. Hubbard shared with the news, "I keep seeing this moment in my mind and it won't go away. I'm always rear-viewing driving now," he said. Emmett talked to the court about what he's been doing since 2017 to make police use of force training better. He even built a new training center for the department himself. Now officers including him are learning jiu-jitsu. He mentioned the data proves it helps lower the chance of suspects and officers getting hurt. During his speech he didn't say sorry to Hubbard or talk directly to him. The judge thought it could help Hubbard get over what happened. After that, Reese ended the court session without the apology. Which courtroom case do you think was the toughest one today? If you know court cases that could be featured on the channel, please write it in the comment section. Take a second to write your thoughts down below. Please subscribe to our channel and check out one of these videos. See you in our next courtroom video. Take care.